What's going on, folks? Welcome back to Thursday night Top 5 Baits Live for Lake Fork and all your surrounding areas. Hey, what a difference a few days have made this week. My goodness, have things progressed quickly and early in the year into what is amounted to a real deal. These fish are starting to behave like fall bass. The bait is starting to behave like fall bait. Uh, a lot of things have taken place this week in the water column. A lot of quick changes. It's not just giddy up and go time just yet, but man, are they making their way to the right areas for us to all go out and get after it on that fall bite. We got a lot of you guys joining in. Hey, as y'all jump in here tonight, do me a favor. Go ahead and drop us a comment. Maybe hit that thumbs up, man. If you like these Thursday night live streams with Top 5 Baits, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. And the more you guys comment, the more activity it will bring more people in here. So I appreciate all that y'all do to help me out. Seminar tomorrow night, Lake Fork Marina, 6 p.m. If you're in the area, please come join us at Lake Fork Marina. We get to do something like this live in person. We'll have an in-depth topic or two that we talk about and teach on. And of course, you guys can meet and greet and hang out with us afterwards. I always stay and answer all the questions and talk to all the people afterwards. So if you've watched some of these videos and you've ever wanted to do a meet and greet or come out and meet me, these seminars are a perfect opportunity. We'll talk fishing for about an hour or so, and then afterwards you can kind of hang out and I'll chit chat with you all you want to. Let's say some hellos and how you doing. It's all the fine folks joining us tonight. We got JD Atnam in the house. We got next Friday. We got Jack Attack, Gary Payne. Saw you on the water today, Gary Payne. Bass Raider, Ben Show, Michael Lunt, Bryant White, Mark King, 6 Mile Outdoors, Ben Bossy, Sean Bowen, Mike Eaton, sorry if I'm repeating your name, OMG, Texas 420, the Bass Fishing Mafia, Brian Proctor, and I think I have said Ricky Moses, Darren Miller, Josh Stroop, Terry Connolly. All right, caught up to all you guys that have dropped comments so far. I know there's a bunch more of y'all in here according to the little number it shows me there. Christopher Trimble, let's go. Who wants to talk about swimming? Somebody's already asked about swimming. Before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about what's going on the lake. So, and we're gonna do a little inside the mind of political statement / public service announcement topic at the end of this. I'm gonna save it till the end because I don't want to distract myself from the fishing deal because I'm gonna go off on something. If you want to see me go off on something, just wait, it's coming. So the water has cooled off tremendously. I wasn't on the water over the weekend. I was coaching my kids' soccer, and it's been a weird week for me. I've only fished Lake Fork today. Monday and Tuesday I did not fish because of the rain and the wind and the crazy weather. Wednesday I fished on Lake Welsh because I was filming with Heath Taylor, and that's his home lake. He lives over there, and I always have to go meet him. So me and Heath went out and filmed on Lake Welsh yesterday. And today was actually my first day this week on Lake Fork. So it was a weird week for me that I've been fishing Lake Fork every single week, multiple days and most of the week. And this week was kind of different. But man, with the weather we had this weekend, the water temps I don't think dropped that much over the weekend. But these last few days, when I was on the water Friday on Lake Fork, the water temp was like 80, 81, 82, stuff like that. Today, the water was 73 and 74 degrees. That's a pretty significant difference, and I don't think that drop really started taking place till Monday. So in a few days, the water temperature dropped 8 degrees. Now this morning, when I saw some shallow fish that were active, we had a little bit of a hard time catching them today. My customer today did have a far and away personal best for him hooked up, got it right to the boat, and she ended up making a run down and just came unpegged. Just one of those unfortunate kind of deals. He didn't do anything wrong. She didn't break him off. She didn't wrapped on a stump. She made that last little run once she got close to the boat, and she got away. Never know how big that fish was. I got a pretty good look at it pretty close to the boat. It looked to be 7 or 8 pounds, 6 at a minimum for sure, probably a 7 or 8 pounder. And he was from Colorado, so he hasn't caught anything that big. They don't have a lot of bass up there in that size category. So it was a sad deal, but man, that fish came in the back of a pocket. They were back there. There were some little fish running shad around. We saw multiple pockets where there was fish getting really active on shad in the back. starting to see that fall stuff that you see, that good stuff, man, the stuff that we want to see. Also today, saw the first few small groups of fish starting to get offshore, get grouped back up offshore, not just an individual fish here or there. Saw some yellow bass grouping up offshore. Saw a shad ball or two. Saw a lot of shad and a lot of yellow bass, a lot of smaller fish suspending out off the structure but around it. So they're getting really close to getting grouped back up, and some of them are already grouping back up on offshore structure as well. So we're getting really close. We always talk about the turnover happens, the fish, boom, spread out all along the bank, get super shallow, and then as the turnover, we get past it, some of those fish will push to the backs of creeks and pockets, and some of those fish will pull back out and gather on offshore structure. And that is exactly what's happening. I think the water temp changes happen so fast that some of those fish haven't really got settled in where it's real easy to go catch them in numbers. Now, if you stumble into the right pocket or the right piece of offshore structure right now, you could absolutely bust them up a little bit if you've got in the right spot at the right time. But here in another week or two, this weather stays cool like it has been. It's going to be every creek and pocket. There's going to be a spot in every creek and pocket. There's going to be a group on a lot of the offshore structure where you can really get after them. So it's really changing fast and progressing in a beautiful, beautiful manner. And my biggest hope is that we get that water temp down where it is now. It stays down between there and 65 and stays there through Thanksgiving like it normally does. I mean, we could have a full 2-month plus fall feeding period that could just be a really good time to go visit all of these East Texas lakes. That being said, man, especially with the shallow fish and everything is hyper focused on shad, so let's break into some baits for you guys. Let's break into what we're using right now. First off, the bait that hooked the biggest fish today, the bait that hooked that big one that he lost, and a bait that works really well every year when we get into that shad pushing into the pocket deal, just a little bitty Sandtone Got 5 spinnerbait. We had dark conditions the last couple days, super dark conditions, so I was actually using the Indiana blade. I normally use this little bitty Got 5 spinnerbait with a willow blade, a small willow blade, but with the dark conditions, I wanted a little more vibration, so I grabbed the one with the Indiana blade. But that's a great little spinnerbait. Sandtone Got 5, made right here in East Texas. Great people, great company. You can pick those up at just about any tackle store around Lake Fork, or of course on Tackle Warehouse or anything like that. That bait is really going to be a player going forward. For about a month or so, that bait should really, maybe about 3 or 4 more weeks, that bait should really, really play well. Another bait they're starting to bite a little bit, the old hollow belly, a 4.5-inch smash take hollow belly. This is what we caught most of our fish on Lake Welsh on. This also got a bite or two on fork today. It's got some teeth marks all over it. Now I'm using this color. This is called D-shad. It's got a little chartreuse fade down the middle, got a chartreuse tail. It's a great, I didn't dye that. Heath actually makes this. Smash Tech makes this color this way. But a good shad representation for dark conditions. Again, we had super heavy cloud cover dark conditions all day the last couple days. Holly is in play. They're biting holly this week. And they should keep moving forward until we get that water down into the lower 60s. Then you're going to want to go for your slower divine swim bait, paddle tails. That's when we'll switch over to those when that water starts getting down in the 60s, especially in the lower half of the 60s. The ridge worm that you guys saw on Monday that we caught them on last week on the video that we filmed, we had a bite or two on this today as well. Today was a little bit of a grind for us today. It's a little bit tougher for us today than certainly tougher than I was expecting it to be. But we did get some bites, and the ridge worm has been really good over the last couple weeks. It's still in play. You can just kind of pitch it around shallow stumps. Like, I know we're hyper focused on shad, and all the other baits, all the other 4 baits are all shad related. But when you find those fish and you want to slow down and pick every bite up that you can, that ridge worm seems to be the best kind of cleanup bait here lately. Just a light 1/4 ounce Texas rig, pitching it to visible cover. Even sometimes just fan casting it around the flat and dragging it and hopping it around is getting bites. And especially if you find, like we found in that video last week, a really good stop sign at the mouth of one of those pockets, brush pile, creek channel swing, something like that, man, that ridge worm is deadly in those situations. Ben Shope said, what size holly on? I'm assuming you mean what size hook am I rigging holly on. That's going to be a 5/0 owner flashy swimmer, especially in the dark conditions. You can also rig it on a 4/0 owner beast hook as well with no flashy, whatever. Let's talk about something else that's fun. Fall topwater fishing. Fall topwater fishing is awesome. There's a lot of baits you can use. You can use welcome baits. Whopper ploppers, especially the smaller whopper ploppers, are great fall topwater baits. But right now, these fish that are up shallow are extremely shallow, guys. I mean, I literally saw one go and turn on a shad, and I saw his fin come out of the water. He was so shallow. I mean, inches of water at times. There's a lot of slop up there, a lot of grass in a lot of these areas, a lot of stink grass, coontail, pondweed, you name it. Variety of vegetation up in water that shallow, kind of just fishing slop. Well, a frog is the best bet for that. The white frog. I don't know why they didn't name it this. They call it ivory white. That's Casper, though. That right there, that Vega frog, his name is Casper. Casper is a great option that you can throw in all that sloppy cover right now and get some bites on, as well as the little poppers, the little popping baits, the little 6-inch popper, the little yellow magic poppers. Those little popping baits, fish, if you don't have a lot of vegetation cover where they're chasing shad at and it's up shallow, especially if you're noticing or seeing surface activity, that's when those topwater baits really come into play. If you're seeing those fish actively chase shad on the surface, you're seeing them pop them on the surface. And I don't just mean the little shad pops. I mean actually seeing fish swirl, blow up, wake on shad. It's almost a guarantee that you can get a bite on a topwater popper right now. And if it's a heavy vegetation area, you throw that frog and you get a bite. So there's our 5 baits for this week. We got a topwater popper, we got a frog, we got a Texas rig ridge worm, we got a weedless hollow body swim bait from Smash Tech, and we got a spinner bait from Got 5, or from San Antonio, the Got 5 spinner bait. Let's answer some questions. Do I always use the extra hook on a spinner bait? I always use a trailer hook. This is actually a 6-inch trailer hook. You can see how good it is. Like, look, it stands up on its own. It stays in the right position. It's not one of those ones that swings all around loose. It actually stays in a good position when you're fishing it in the water column. But yes, I always use a trailer hook on a spinner bait. BK Outdoors asks, what about a double fluke rig or just a fluke? Yeah, I think a fluke would be great. I did not throw it. I actually thought about it today and I didn't reach for it. But yeah, I think a fluke would be, and I prefer the impact shad with the little split tail. It gives a little more action, a little better action in my opinion. But a fluke is absolutely a very viable option right now, for sure. Especially like a whitish colored one, a shad colored fluke. I would actually throw a shad colored fluke right now. When is it jig time, and which one of the Century rods did you say you would choose if you could only pick one? 7.7 heavy. 7.7 heavy Century rod, especially for jig fishing, that'd be a phenomenal rod. Jig fishing time. I'm gonna start throwing a finesse jig when that water breaks into the 60s. So when that water, excuse me, when that water kind of gets into the upper 60, 69, 68 degrees and stays there, like stabilizes in that range and lower, I'm gonna throw a finesse jig for a while. And then when that water gets down into the 50s, especially the mid to lower 50s, I'm gonna reach for my 1/2 ounce jig and fish it out deeper in creek channels. But I really like that water to get established and kind of stabilized underneath the 70 mark before I reach for that finesse jig and fish it shallow, which is the first jig I reach for in the fall. Cody Mays, am I going to be on Fork tomorrow? Yes, sir. I sure am, buddy. I sure am. Is a square bill a good choice? Okay. That's not a wrong question. And yes, the square bill can be a very good choice. Somebody else asked earlier, is the chatterbait in play? Chatterbait can be in play. Chatterbait was getting most of my bite, like the majority of my bites week before last. But last week and so far this week, I threw the chatterbait even on Welsh yesterday and didn't get bit on it. For whatever reason, they're not biting the chatterbait as much as they were week before last. All of this stuff that looks like a shad, and it's also important to match the size profile of the shad that are in the area you're fishing. But a square bill crankbait, a lipless crankbait, a swim jig, a swim bait, a chatterbait, a top water pop, a frog, a spinnerbait. All of these things can be very effective in the fall. It's about fishing the one that is the most efficient for the type of cover you have in the area that you're finding shad. I hope that helps you understand what I'm saying. I hope you understand what I'm saying there. All of those baits have their place for fall fishing, but it's really about finding the one that they'll bite and you can fish efficiently in that cover present. So if it's like water this deep, which I'm fishing a lot of right now, with a lot of scattered vegetation, square bill's not really your best choice. You want a swim bait, you want a chatterbait, you want something more weedless. I was throwing a chatterbait up in that stuff. They aren't biting as good. Now I'm throwing a swim bait up in that stuff, or a spinnerbait up in that stuff. I can work all of those baits efficiently in that cover. Now, if I was fishing 3 to 5 foot and I had some scattered timber, then a square bill might be my very first choice that I went for. But I would work between a square bill and a swim bait and spinner and just see which one they would bite the best, and then go with that one. Fall transition or summer fishing, which one do you find more challenging as a guy? Fall transition. Summer to fall transition, especially close around the turnover, to me is the toughest time of year. It really is. You do have some days where it all works out and you find the right water fish and it works out for you during the transition. But until they get into that fall pattern like they're starting to get into now, coming out of summer to fall, when they start transitioning, man, golly, they don't want to bite. They're not feeling great. They're not in a great feeding mood yet. They're super scattered out. So even when you do find one that'll bite, it's just one. It really is, to me, the toughest time of year to fish and to be a guide. Cody, I'll holler at you tomorrow out there after I see it. I appreciate it. David G says, Flukes and Impact Shad got some good ones on Welsh last Thursday. The Fish Life app was on point. Thanks. Hey, man. Hey, thank you for using it. That's what it's there for. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. We are going to be updating the Fish Life app packages this next week when we get to the 1st. We have fresh updates on Lake Fork. All of our packages will get updated next week. So if you guys are subscribed to the Fish Life app, look for your updates. Go fish some new areas. Go stay on the latest information. And if you don't have the Fish Life app, go download it for free. Find a lake on there, subscribe to the lake that you fish or you're going to be fishing, and get absolutely the most detailed, best information, up-to-date information that you've ever seen on Fishing app. Am I going to be fishing? Am I going to be on Fork Sunday? So, guys, I'm not on Fork on the weekends, especially during soccer season. You'll find me out there on the weekends once in a while, but not during soccer season. Coach my kids in soccer. We've got a game Saturday. And then on Sundays, man, I'll always stay home on Sundays, hang out with the family, do stuff around the house, and I also do a lot of my editing on Sundays as well. So my weekends, especially during soccer season, are completely occupied off the water. But I'm usually out there Monday through Friday, or at least 4 of those 5 days at least, but usually 5, if not 4 days. Are we planning on getting to Walkney on the Fish Life app? Man, we're open to adding new lakes. You know, everything that's happened in the world this year, I probably haven't done as good a job as I should have at trying to expand the app. But we're always open to adding new lakes. The deal is our vetting process and who we will use, our standards for who we will use as a information contributor on these lakes is extremely high. It has to be somebody that we have the faith and confidence in as a fisherman, and that has the availability to spend the amount of time that we want to demand that they spend on that water, on that body of water. B, it has to be a good person that we want to work with. And C, it's got to be somebody that's willing to give up the good stuff, that's willing to give the best information. In our culture of bass fishing, that can be hard to find the right partner on a given body of water. We need somebody that's out there multiple days a week on that lake, has the skills, and has the willingness to do things the way we want to do it. So we would certainly love to add Lake Walkney in all the lakes, but we got to have the right partner. He said, I downloaded the Fish Life app and it only wants to sell me magazines. Am I using the wrong app or the right? You're using the wrong app. We don't have any ads on the Fish Life app. There is no advertisements on the Fish Life app at all. Make sure it's Fish Life, spelled with a Y, 2 words, all that good stuff. If you don't know the logo, I wear it all the time. I can't believe I don't have my Fish Life shirt on right now. But I wear the logo all the time in videos. It's the big fish with Fish Life spelled in the rib cage. That's the logo you want to look for when you download that app. I'm planning to fish the Berkeley tournament. Any bait suggestions? That's a tough one because you can only fish Berkeley baits. And it's a tough one because we're still a month away from it almost. And things change so much and so fast throughout the fall at times. But I can tell you, I have heard of more of those Berkeley tournaments being won and checks being cashed on one bait. Berkeley Power Worm. A 10-inch Berkeley Power Worm, or even a 7-inch, 8-inch Berkeley Power Worm, has probably won more money at that Berkeley tournament than all other baits combined. Because you can only use Berkeley baits, or pure fishing baits, under their umbrella. Ron Foreman, we appreciate you joining us. Mark King says, I'm going to be out there Sunday, and it says the weather is going to heat up a little bit. Do you think that will affect the bite? You never know, but I don't really think so because it's not going to heat up to an extreme where it's going to drastically change the water temp real fast. Water is always on a delay on how fast the temps go up and down. No, if anything, that I think it might actually just help them settle into what they're trying to get to, and you should be in good shape. You should be in good shape. I think it's nothing but uphill from here, boys. Honestly, I do. Michael King, what's up, buddy? Appreciate you joining us. Have I been to Top Secret Lake lately? I haven't. I have not. How did our boys' first game go? It went really well. It was a really good game. So we're in a challenge. So our soccer team is in a little bit of a challenging situation. We don't have the most experienced or most skilled team. We've got a really young team for our age division. But our first game went well. It was tied late in the game. The other team ended up winning by 2 goals. But, man, the kids got after it. They did everything I asked them to do, especially for our first game. I mean, they made some mistakes, but they played really hard and played a team that has, honestly, to be honest, far more skilled players and stayed in the game till very late in the game. They were tied. So I was really, really, really proud of them. They kind of played above my expectations, and I was super, super proud. Jigs and fallings. We went through the jigs earlier. I don't want to do that again because we just went through that earlier. If you don't want to hear nothing but fishing, you might want to check out now because I gotta get into something, man. I saw something today, and I know this isn't a political platform of any kind, but thanks to you guys, it's my platform. And sometimes when I see things that I feel like need to be said, I get to say them on this platform. I saw a video today, I believe it was from California, of a woman sitting in the stands with looked to be her mother and her children, young children, in the stands at a football game, high school, junior high, something like that. It was a football game. And she wasn't wearing a mask. And everybody else was. She wasn't wearing a mask. And the video starts with this cop standing over, big guy, big cop, standing over her and like leaning over her in kind of an aggressive position. And you just hear her say no, and then he reaches for his cuffs and grabs her hand and starts trying to cuff her. And she's pulling her other arm away and trying not to get cuffed and, not really fighting him, but not cooperating and giving him her other hand. This cop, folks, was arresting this woman for not wearing a mask. Arresting her, not writing her a ticket, not asking her to leave the game, not verbally warning her, but arresting a woman for not wearing a mask. What if that woman has breathing issues? What if she has asthma as an adult? What if she has bad allergies in the fall? And she doesn't want to wear a mask, and she doesn't need to wear a mask. It has been said that if your doctor says you got a medical issue, you don't need to wear a mask, you don't have to wear them. She's outside of the football game sitting with her family and nowhere near anybody else. The fact that all those people in those stands sat there and watched that happen, disgusts me. Absolutely disgusts me. It makes me ashamed in a little way. I'm very proud to be an American. For those that don't know, I did serve in the Marine Corps. I know most of you guys watching this know this, but I served in the Marine Corps, and I got deployed to Iraq back in 2006. And I've always been aware that it's just a few of us that are willing to stand up and do what's right in a moment of turmoil. But I can tell you this, no matter where I've gone in this country, no matter who I've been around, I've heard this as much or more than anything. People always say, man, I was gonna join, I would have signed up, but, well, you know what? You don't have to join any branch of the military, and you don't have to sign up for nothing to do the right thing for the right reasons. If you see a woman getting borderline assaulted by a police officer when she's not breaking a law, and you know he's giving her a hard time about the mask, that cop had no right to put his hands on that woman for not wearing a mask. He can ask her to leave. He can say, you're not following the rules, you need to leave the stadium. He arrested her and took her to jail. And not only that, he tased her, folks. Now, this man had this woman, he was 150 pounds minimum bigger than her. And he tased her to get cuffs on her over a mask in front of her kids. One of them couldn't have been 4 or 5 years old, maybe 6. The other one looked like he's about 10 to 13, somewhere in there. I mean, what are we coming to in this country when a woman gets tased by a man way bigger than her because she's not wearing a daggum mask that she shouldn't have to wear? That is an infringement on her freedoms and her rights anyway. Okay? Then on top of that, everybody's sitting there in the stands. Somebody's filming it. Everybody's sitting there in the stands, and nobody does nothing. Those people in those stands should have got up. I'll tell you what, if you're one of those people that says you would have signed up, you would have joined, if you see a situation like this, you stand your rear end up and you go do what's right. You get in between her and that cop. I don't care if he's a cop. I don't care if you go to jail. You think you were going to join? Stand up and do what's right. It is time for us as Americans to stop letting this government tell us how we're going to live, what we're going to do, and when we're going to do it. If you're breaking the law, you're breaking the law. If you're sitting there watching your kid's football game and somebody rolls up on you for no good reason and starts trying to arrest you, do not put up with that. And if they do it to somebody you know, don't put up with it for them. Stand up for what's right, whether it's the cops doing the wrong, whether it's the bad guys doing the wrong. It doesn't matter. You stand up and do what's right, and you fight for those that can't fight for themselves. That woman was way undermanned and undersized. She couldn't fight for herself. I wish I would have been in those stands. I know that I'll stand up and fight for what I believe in. And I hear a lot of people in this country say that they will. And I believe in Texas, that crap wouldn't have flown. I don't think it ever would have happened in Texas. But whether it's California, Texas, New York, Mississippi, where, it doesn't matter. Michigan, it doesn't matter. Right is right and wrong is wrong. You do the right thing for the right reasons. And if you think that you're bad enough to stand up for what's right, do it. Don't just stand there and watch some woman get abused the way that woman got abused right in front of her own children. That was absolutely uncalled for and ridiculous. Go look it up. I watched that video and I was so mad. So mad. And all I could think of is if I was walking up into those stands and some cop was doing that to my wife, I would absolutely be in prison for assaulting a police officer. 100,000%. Guaranteed. And I'll take it. I'll take the charge. I'll deal with it. Because no matter what repercussions come, what is right is right. And you fight for what's right. Too many people in this world and in this country have lost the perspective, and they're so scared of losing what they have, and they're so honestly spoiled, especially in this country. We're so spoiled that we forget what it takes to maintain and achieve what we have achieved in this country. People have to be willing to fight to achieve what we've achieved. And when none of us are willing to fight anymore, we'll lose everything. The best part about that video was she got arrested, got carried out of the stadium, another cop came to support that cop, and that cop wasn't wearing a mask. The second cop that came in wasn't wearing a mask. And we're going to arrest a mother watching her child's football game over something you're not even following? You've got to be kidding me, America. Do not put up with this absolute, and I'm sorry, bullshit anymore. Stand up and fight back when things are wrong. I'm not encouraging you to fight the police unless they're wrong. I back the blue 100%. I am not supportive of Black Lives Matter. That is a domestic terrorist group. I don't have a problem with the message that Black Lives Matter says that they're standing for, but their actions make them a domestic terrorist group. It does. Absolutely it does. Unbelievable. That woman was sitting down in the bleachers and got manhandled, tased, and arrested for nothing. That should never happen in this country. And I hope it makes everybody listening as mad as it makes me. As mad as it makes me. We got problems, folks. It's the greatest country on earth. But we got some problems. And unless we're willing to stand up and fight what's wrong, those of us that know right from wrong need to be willing to stand up. Because there's a lot of folks that are confused about what's right and wrong, and they're willing to raise 9 kinds of hell about it. So if those of us that know what's right and wrong don't stand up and do something about it, we will lose what we have. Which is the freedom to go fishing when we want to go fishing. And the freedom to coach our kids at soccer. And the freedom to do what we want to do as long as we're not hurting or molesting or taking advantage of others. I hope it makes you mad. Go look the video up. Yeah. Ryan Burrows, I see your comment. There was a reason I didn't state what color either person was. I don't care what color anybody is. I don't care what color the cop was. I don't care what color the woman was. That doesn't matter to me in any bit. I see what you're saying there, but it doesn't matter to me in any way. All right. I know we got a real far off course right there, but and I'm sure this will get demonetized. We did a podcast a couple of weeks ago, podcast before last, and we said the Great American Bass Fishing Tournament Race, and we used Trump holding up 2 bass as the thumbnail. Never mentioned Trump, never mentioned politics, never mentioned anything, never cursed, never did anything in the video to get it demonetized. But because Trump was holding the bass in the thumbnail, it got demonetized and it got put on the limited access list as far as YouTube will only expose it to limited viewers. Oh, yeah, YouTube leans a little liberal too. They claim they don't, but they do. Man, I'm telling you guys, you better get out and vote. Wherever y'all are, I know most of y'all are in Texas, and y'all think Trump's gonna walk away with Texas, but Texas is turning more blue every day. You better get out and vote come November. That's your biggest voice you have. Get out and vote. All right, I'm done ranting and raving. I appreciate y'all letting me get that off my chest. And sorry that we didn't stay all on fishing. We normally are all on fishing, but once in a while, there's certain things that just need to get said, and we got it out there. So thank y'all for bearing with me through that. I'm sorry for the questions I didn't get to answer. Yeah, appreciate you guys. Y'all are awesome, man. Y'all make my world go round. And we will see y'all tomorrow at the seminar if you're coming. Other than that, we'll see you next time right here. I can't even get my thoughts together. I'm so mad. On your Lake Fork Guide.